السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته أخواتي، مرحبا بكم. عودة إليكم بفيديو خاص وفيديو جديد. هذه المرة معنا ضيف خاص اللي هو الصحفي جيمس غرين، صحفي قنوات سبورت، اللي قبل الدعوة ديالنا رغم كما يقول لك بيزي بيريود، ولكن قبل الدعوة جيمس غرين من قنوات سكاي سبورتس معنا. قبل ما ننطلقوا كالعادة ما تنساوش ديروا لنا الاشتراك على القناة بالسبسكرايب والبارطاج على أوسع نطاق. جيمس, good evening mate.
Good evening.
How
Good
are
seeing
you?
you. I'm good. I'm good. We were saying, weren't we, before? It's like international breaks, bit of calmness, kind of
Yeah.
pauses everything, and then it's going to ramp up. And what a busy week it is for the Gooners as well. Very, very
Yeah,
busy. And,
it's good. It's good
Champions
to be
League,
back. It's good to be back.
and Champions League back next week, which is
Yeah,
I'm so excited. So
yeah.
excited.
6
Brilliant.
years. Yeah, it's been a long time.
Too long. Too long.
Too long. Yes. James, let's crack on. Obviously, your last interview with Arteta. I think you did 2 interviews within 3 months.
Mhm.
One of them was by the end of the season last season, and you got the chance to interview the boss again. I think after the first game or before the first game, I can't really remember. But anyway,
I
yeah,
wish I could remember as well. It was around the first game. I think it was after the first. Oh no, it was after. Oh, I don't know. No, maybe it was after the Charity Shield, so before the
yeah,
first game of the season. I think from
yeah.
memory.
What did you sense, James? Because obviously you got the chance to be very close to the manager. What did you sense, like his personality? Some people say he's arrogant. Some say that he's too stubborn. So what did you sense?
He's very single-minded
Mhm.
in regards to it's his way
Mm.
or the highway, so to speak. But he's passionate. He's hungry. He's very serious about everything he says, everything he wants to do. He is somebody that eats, sleeps, breathes football, breathes Arsenal. He is desperate for success at this club, and you could just tell so much. Like I was talking to him, so we sit down for the interview, but now I'm getting to know him a little bit more. We're able to actually, chat off camera a little bit more than we ever have done. So I definitely find him as a manager a slow burner. There's some managers I've got a much closer relationship with. He's somebody I'm slowly getting there. He knows I'm an Arsenal fan, so that kind of helps. Maybe that's dangerous as well because he knows I'm, go at him.
Yeah.
But he's a gentleman. He talks about, we talked about his summer and switching off a bit over the summer. And he said, look, I remember him saying to me, he said, I thought I switched off really well, but my wife might tell you a different story. And I thought it was great because he obviously probably dropped back what he would normally do, but actually he was still well and truly involved with everything that was going on. But look, he's incredibly intelligent. He's constantly looking at new ways for Arsenal to play, which I think a lot of us are seeing this year. I'm sure there's some people who are going to be criticising him for that, but you need to keep.
That's part of it. That's part of the game. I always say criticism is part of it.
It is, and he knows that. And I mean, look, it frustrates me a lot of the criticism, and from our fan base, sometimes it goes over the top. We're seeing it so much with Kai Havertz, but I'll move away from that. But
We're gonna talk about Kai Havertz in a minute.
I thought we would, but for Mikael, it's like, you know what? He if we look at last season, I think all Arsenal fans could go right down the starting 11 every single week. We knew how he wanted them to play. We knew the players who was going to be picked. You could just knew the starting 11 straight away. This year, it feels like it's a little bit different now. He's trying to look at every single opposition and change things and change the way he's playing. And that's something he has to do. You have to, adapt to the opposition. And he's a thinker, is Mikael. He's constantly churning in his brain new ways of playing, new ways of tackling an opposition. I'd describe him as just a very interesting football man with an incredibly intelligent football brain as well.
Yeah. Talking about interviews and journalism, sometimes that's my point of view and what I feel as a fan in general. I've seen it, especially since Mikael came. I follow every single press conference. I don't miss. I think I missed like 2 or 3 since he came. But when we talk about journalism, sometimes don't you think that some questions are out of order, or I would say out of subject? I remember, I can't remember which game we were going to play, and then someone asked about Hurricane and Spurs, which was, that had nothing to do with that game. I think we were supposed to play Aston Villa. I think it was the Villa game, if I'm not mistaken. What do you think as a journalist? Do you see it? I mean, sometimes it's just waste of time for us fans, because as a fan, what I expect from a press conference is, to talk about the game. How's the manager thinking? What is he preparing? What's his plan for the game? But unfortunately, with some journalists, it's just like, for me, it's like a waste,
Look, first and foremost, now, and especially being in Europe as well, he'll be speaking to the press a lot.
Yeah.
And this week in particular, for example, he'll be speaking to them tomorrow. He'll be then speaking to them next week before PSV, and then he'll be speaking to them again next Friday before the North London derby. So it's a lot of questions that same journalists a lot of the time. So they're trying to, a lot of journalists are trying to go down different routes. Mikel's quite tough to crack because he doesn't necessarily enjoy being in front of the camera, something he's admitted before. He said it to me as well. He said, I don't really enjoy that side. I want to be on the training ground and, in the school, so to speak, and studying and educating and doing that side of his job. But look, as regards journalists, look, we each individually have a job to do. We have a job to do for the company we work for. So, the questions that I might ask represented Sky might be different to somebody who works for a newspaper or somebody who works for I don't know, a radio channel like TalkSport, for example, which are very much like they want their sound bites desperately. For Sky, we have to have a balance. We have to, be careful with clubs because they are stakeholders. We work together so we've got to make sure our partnership is good. So the one thing I believe personally, I always pride myself on, and I'm sure all the other Sky Sports journalists do the same, is you offer respect to each of the managers, each of the clubs you visit. Look, there are some press conferences where people ask certain questions and you're sat there going, scratching your head, what are you doing? You have some that, you said you watch loads of Arsenal press conferences, barely miss them. Or if somebody comes in who maybe hasn't covered Arsenal for a while and hasn't checked back through the last couple of press conferences and then asks the same sort of question as what's been asked previously, that's a waste of time as well. So look, that does happen. That's frustrating. I try desperately hard to find something slightly different, but football is moving quickly and topics do change week in, week out. So what we talked about on Friday, back from international duty, Declan Rice being nominated for Ballon d'Or. I mean, it's incredible, and that will be the focus, I think, before obviously the trip to Everton. And it just, everything does transgress. There will be bad questions. Look, there's gonna be. There's too many press conferences,
Because what I think as fans, as I say, it's you have guys some kind of responsibility. It's like a sacred responsibility to because basically we got the info from you. That's what we got. We don't have any sources. It's whether it's on Twitter or on TV, on Sky Sports, on magazines. That's why we got the info, and for us it's frustrating because we need to know as much as possible about the Arsenal.
Yeah, we do. You know what? We always try, and I certainly do. What's important? We want team news, right? You want to know injury updates. You want to know where players are in their comebacks, etc. And look, Mikel is one of those managers who's very tight-lipped, and you can't always take what he says as gospel. You can't. And he's very much.
And we've seen that before in many occasions.
Look, we have, and I prime example. After who do we play first game? Forest, wasn't it? Forest first game. So after Forest, after the first game of the season, maybe that was when I interviewed him then, because at the press conference I asked him about Kieran Tierney, And I said to him, is Kieran Tierney still in your plans? And he went back at me and he went, well, I picked him in the cup final, in the Community Shield final. Like, of course.
Yeah.
Like almost like, what a stupid question I was asking. And I was like, well, hold on a minute. You've just left him out of your match day squad for the first Premier League game of the season. And I said, well, was he disappointed to be completely left out of the squad? And he went, I hope so. And, you know, a week later, he's off on loan to Real Sociedad. So it wasn't in his plans. So it's like, that frustrated me a bit because I think he could have worded that a little bit differently. And I think he could have said, you know, we're working on a solution. You know, we're working on a solution. We're working with the player. We're in communication. You know, I liked him enough to start him in the Community Shield, but let's see what happens. And that would have been a bit better. But he actually like went at me. And I was like, oh, come on, like you didn't need to do that. But look, again, that's part of all journalists' job. You've got to be prepared for a manager to come back at you, and you've got to be able to take it and go back at them as well. Equally as well. That's what it's all about. It's like a game of chess, really, most of the time.
Exactly. One last question about journalism, and that's the question. You know, it might be a little bit sensitive, but sometimes I feel that, especially the English media, or British media, is so biased when it comes to Arsenal. A quick example or small example: what's happening with Kai Havertz. I know he hasn't been. It's not what we were expecting, but it's only 4 games into the season. Yeah, I'm frustrated myself as a fan. I am frustrated with Kai Havertz, and I don't want to see him in starting 11. But I always think, but I always say that the manager he knows better the players. These guys, you know, the managers and the staff are living with these players more than we do. They know much more than we do. But sometimes the media is, you know, when it comes to Arsenal. As I said, small example, Kai Havertz and Nicolas Pepe. When you look at Nicolas Pepe's numbers comparing to other players, nobody's talking about Anthony. Nobody's talking about, what's his name, the Brazilian guy from Tottenham. I forgot. Richarlison. He's been awful. You know, I think 1 goal last season or 2 goals. Yeah, but nobody's talking about it. When I look at Pepe's numbers, it hasn't been brilliant. You know, 75 million pounds. But still, his numbers are not that bad. And
Pepe's numbers never were that bad.
Exactly.
I didn't think he was that bad at all. I thought I was quite disappointed, if I'm honest with you, because anything could have happened to Saka. And I felt like Pepe on that right-hand side is still...
And that's what I was going to ask you about Saka, you know, if, God forbid, something happens. And I've been hearing, like yesterday, about an old injury. So we don't know what's going to happen because we don't really have a backup. I don't see Reece Nelson as a backup or Fabio Vieira as a backup for Saka. But, you know, as I said, sometimes the media is just, I feel, when it comes to Arsenal, they're just so biased. And, you know, maybe you know better than me. I mean...
Look, it's... At times, because obviously I am an Arsenal fan and I'm in the media. So look, I understand and I see things aimed at Arsenal that I think are completely unfair. I see things aimed at Arsenal that I believe is to gauge a reaction from the fan base that will bring clicks, interaction.
Exactly.
And that's almost like a lot of media channels are often judging their performance on, how many clicks can we get? So it doesn't matter what the content is, it's actually how many clicks we get. Now, Arsenal, we know, is a massive club, huge fan base, and we know on social media, Arsenal fans are rampant. So a lot of companies will know they'll get a reaction from it, which is... It's frustrating, but you just got to not bite to it, really. Don't take it too seriously. That is just the nature of people wanting to talk about Arsenal all the time. That's just how it has been for years, though. It's not like it's new. We've been used to this for many, many years. And look, you just got to not bite. Often, I would certainly say I don't believe Sky Sports rave on or look for anything against any Arsenal players specifically at all. I don't believe so. I don't ever see their social media team dropping a random thing, Pepe 72 million for nothing. Like, you know, it's ridiculous. Whereas other avenues and other media outlets will do that because they want that content, they want that engagement. But look, I try not to engage myself, and I have to withdraw and like take myself back, especially if I see like people chatting about it, and I'm like, oh, like phone off, phone down, leave it alone. Don't get myself in trouble. It's not worth it. It's not.
What do you think about our business done this summer? Obviously, Kai Havertz, Declan Rice, Timber, and David Raya.
Yeah.
What do you think? If you
I think before Timber's injury, I thought it was. I don't know if we could have got a better transfer window, in my opinion. Yeah. Timber's injury is huge, and and again, speaking to Mikael a couple of weeks ago, he was devastated. Absolutely devastated. Timber was so crucial to having that fluidity and flexibility at the back that he craved this year. He wanted that player, and he was going to be so crucial to offer that for Arsenal. So without that in the team, it almost takes you back a little bit to defensively to what he had last year. And it's what he had last year. So can he adapt that defense now a little bit differently? We've seen him try it, certainly at the first few games of the season. But so the Timber injury is a real big blow because I think he's a terrific player. I thought it was a really, really good sign. I think that was the one that probably out of all the signings would have gone under the radar, but actually was one of the most important. Declan Rice is just incredible. What a player, what a baller. A player that not just his ability on the pitch, his leadership, his character off the pitch as well, something that Arsenal have been craving for years. And to be able to get a player like him at Arsenal, if you think about it, if we go back just a couple of years, there's no way Declan Rice was ever going to join Arsenal. So you can see the transition, the progression that Arsenal have made in the last couple of years in particular.
Absolutely.
To be able to attract Declan Rice, who is nominated for a Ballon d'Or, which is just crazy. A Ballon d'Or nomination for playing for West Ham.
Yeah.
Let's get this right. This is nothing to do with Arsenal. This is to do with what he did for West Ham. Yeah. And that says a lot of what sort of player he is, but the great business that the club has done. David Raya, I mean, Jesus, blooming hell, we've got a second keeper who's one of the best keepers in the league last season. Great. Yeah. I know there's a lot of talk. And again, I asked Mikael about that at the time. He got really frustrated with all the talk around why are you getting 2 first-choice keepers in? Well, Mikael was firm and said, well, hold on a minute. One of them gets an injury. Then everybody complains and goes, why didn't you get a better second keeper in? Let's be honest. We saw what Matt Turner did when he popped into the team in the Europa League last season. He was awful.
Yeah. But I think also, sorry, Jim, but I think also it's also for the competition to push each other. David Raya and Aaron Ramsdale. It's good. That's how you push each other, and I think it was brilliant. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I saw it on the news. We were linked to him, and then it became official. But
it's a loan. It's a loan. It's a loan. They don't even. There's no commitment to buy at the end of the season if they don't want to. I'd be surprised if they don't. But you're right, and the competition for places is something that Mikael talks about all the time, all over the pitch. He wants challenges all over the pitch, so that in training, everybody's pushing each other to that next level, and that's exactly what he's got. And Ramsdale, it's the kind of character that will take on that challenge. It will push him even further. He's not someone that relents when a challenge is offered. He really goes at it, and I think his improvement we will see this year, I think. But and I guess the last one, what Havertz, right? Look, first of all, as we saw with Pepe, you pay a lot of money for a footballer, there is more eyes, more scrutiny on that player. Fact. Doesn't matter why, but there will be scrutiny on that player.
Especially when you come from Chelsea.
And when you buy him from Chelsea, absolutely. Did he set the world alight at Chelsea? No. Was he talented before that at Bayer Leverkusen? Absolutely. He does some brilliant stuff for Germany as well. I personally still believe there is a quality player there. I really do. I believe a lot of his work off the ball probably doesn't get the recognition it deserves. I believe he is still pivotal to about how they want to play. I think there's so many more levels to go. His finishing is definitely the biggest question mark, and that for fans, I think it's the most frustrating thing. I mean, United, that missed kick was just like everything sunk inside me because I keep defending him, and you're like, oh, there's a chance, and then he miskicks it from like 5 yards. But
But
look,
you could see on the particular game and that miss, you could see that that's a player. I was just talking to us. I said that's exactly a player who's out of confidence. That's exactly
it is.
and you kind of feel sorry at the same time, because at the end of the day, the players are human beings and they probably read and listen and
Of course they do.
and of course they get affected.
Absolutely. So what again so when I put my fan hat on, what frustrates me the most is actually Arsenal fans constantly hammering on about Havertz. He's played 4 games. We're undefeated.
Yeah.
I don't
Give him a chance. Give him a chance. I mean,
but we're not losing games.
Yeah.
So what people I'm struggling to understand, like, just patience, time. He's still young. He's so young. Why do we need to judge him after 4 games? Why do we have to? I don't understand. Just because he's played in the Premier League previously, it's a completely new system, a completely new role. Like, I just wish Arsenal fans just relax a little bit around him, because one thing that was really noticeable, and I don't want the Emirates to turn into what it was in the past, because the Emirates atmosphere the last couple of years has been phenomenal.
Yeah,
been absolutely exceptional. But I don't want to see things that happened in the past, the likes of like Emmanuel Abue, that sort of thing, where the fans just get on someone's back straight away. We know it from Havertz gives the ball away, the noise in the stadium is completely different. Whereas Saka gives the ball away, no one says anything. Yet it led to a goal as well the other day. So I just want fans to just take a step back. Don't hammer our own players.
I always say, as long as this player has the Arsenal shirt on, I will back them 100% because he's playing for my club.
And is he? Absolutely. And the question for you: when he's playing, he's not just late. He's not being lazy. He's not walking around the pitch. He's not like throwing strops. Yeah. He's putting the effort in. And as fans, that's all we want to see, no?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What do you think about our new system this year? Like, obviously, a lot of fans are not convinced. I always say I'm not a technician. I'm just a fan. But is it? Do you think Mikael has other ideas in mind, or because maybe we're not playing good football? But for me, as a fan, as long as we're winning games, it's absolutely fine with me. Because last year we've been playing absolutely brilliant football, but at the end, unfortunately, we didn't win the Premier League. And so I always say I would rather, play like negative football, like the Mourinho way, and win silverware at the end.
But it's the good thing is it's not Mourinho way. Thank goodness for that. So look, at times the football is, you have to, again, it's about being patient. We are also playing against teams that are sitting everybody behind the ball.
Yeah.
And so we've always still got to understand as fans that that's going to take time sometimes to break down. Yeah. And if it takes a bit of time to get that first goal, then it's just going to be a bit more frustrating. But, the new system is just, it feels like he's finding different ways of getting other players into the game, different ways of creating problems for the opposition, to move away from a little bit of what people were expecting of last season, so that it's a bit of a surprise. And I think that's a good thing. And look, I know people go, oh, he's tinkering a bit like Pep Guardiola did, but I would rather personally see a manager try different things. And look, we tried different things, and okay, apart from the one draw, which was disappointing, we're undefeated. So he's trying things. We're still winning games. We're still getting points. Yeah. I don't think there should be this big panic.
And that's what we've been crying for. Sorry, like last season, in some games we were too predictable. It was pretty much impossible to break the other defenses because we were predictable. Game after game after game, other teams knew how we were going to play. We even my daughter, she's 8 years. She knew the starting 11. She knows who's going to start. And we were too predictable. But for me, it's a good thing. Yes, the football hasn't been that brilliant, but we're still winning, and that's what matters
We are. There are certain periods of the game where we moving the ball around, the passing, the movement, the creation of opportunities has been unbelievable. I think our biggest problem, and again, I'll go back to when I spoke to Mikael, was being clinical. It's his biggest gripe with this team at the moment is the lack of clinical finishing at the moment. So we're having crucial points in games where we should be taking a lead and should be doubling a lead, scoring 3, and we're not doing it. And he just wants to see his team more clinical. And I think that will be the big change. I think when that starts ticking in, and look, hopefully Gabriel Jesus, when he gets himself really back to his fitness, back to his peak, maybe we'll start seeing that a little bit more. Look, there's so many goals in that side, though. You know, it's not just Jesus. You got Saka, Martinelli, Ødegaard chipping in. Havertz, the goals will come. It's going to. You know, Xhaka picked up goals last season, and we didn't expect that to happen. Havertz will score. It's absolutely fine. Rice is now getting forward, and then it's going to happen. I think we just got to be, again, it's just being a little bit patient because we get so excited as fans, don't we? And look at what happened last year. We got a bit too excited. It got a little bit too much. But so then we're going, right, we just spent 200 million. Right, we must be winning the league now. So we've got to win every game 5-6-0. Right? It's not going to happen. It's the Premier League. Doesn't happen. So we just got to be a bit more realistic, a bit more patient with this team. But I think there's, look, early signs are positive for me. I think that do I think they're playing brilliantly? No. But again, we're undefeated and we're not playing exceptionally well. So there's so many more levels this team can go.
And we got what, 10 points after 4 games, which is amazing. I think it's better than last year.
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, no problem.
The only thing I'm worried about is, you know, I'm afraid you're gonna, fall short at one point. If we get any injuries, I don't think after the Timbers injury, I think we should have gone for at least, one player, or at least we could have kept Kieran Tierney, maybe, because when I look at the defenders, I think we are, shorter than last year. You got, few defenders than last year because Holding is gone, Tierney is gone, and that's what I'm scared of, because now we play in Premier League only. Now we got Champions League coming, the Carabao Cup is soon, and then obviously you got the FA Cup.
Yeah, look, I think you're right. Like I said, I said at the start, the Timber injury was a massive blow for Arteta and Arsenal. For us, it was huge. The Tierney letting go on loan after Timber getting injured, I did scratch my head as well. I'm not going to lie. It doesn't, to me, make total sense. But if you've got a player maybe a bit frustrated with not playing, it's a tricky one to try and balance. He wanted his squad shrunk down a bit. His squad was too ballooned. He wasn't happy with it was too big. So he wanted a tighter knit squad. Look, a couple of injuries, it's a worry. Declan Rice gets injured. Shit. Where are we going to be? Excuse my language. Look, you feel like, I don't know, with Arsenal, I feel like we always feel like we're just a couple of injuries away from it all kind of falling apart. But, having said that, you look at our 18, 19 players, it's pretty damn strong now. I feel like we've got game changers on the bench now who could come on and make a real difference. I feel like we've got quality and depth now. Players are improving now. And that's one of the biggest things and biggest changes under Mikel Arteta I think I've seen, is that actually he's now improving players. So much in the past, we had players that just weren't improving at all. So when we were selling them for so much less. Now I feel like we've got a squad of players now that if lo and behold, in January, next summer, we want to move on a few, I feel like we'll get good money from them because they're still improving. Yeah.
Who's been what do you think? Who's been the best player for you? I mean, so far, after 4 games, 5 games.
Rice.
Declan Rice,
Declan. Yeah, he's just been phenomenal. I thought his performance against United was different class. I felt like he was playing a different game to everybody else. He reads the game so well. He's so intelligent. He's got that real tackle and bite into him when he needs to. He's become more progressive with the ball as well, which, again, that's an improvement he's made since he's joined Arsenal, actually. And that's something that Arteta's been working on. with him, that he wants him to be more positive on the ball, look forward more rather than sideways and backwards. He wants him to start those attacks off, and he's just been brilliant. I mean, popping up with a goal against Man United was just an amazing moment. And I think he will get forward. I think Arteta will encourage that a little bit more, especially if Partey's in the team as well. He's been, for me, he's just been different class. He really has. He's made such a difference. And I don't know, I don't remember a new signing at Arsenal for many a year that's come in and had that instant impact within 4 games. He's best. I think he win the August Player of the Month for Arsenal. I think he did. So
August and this month as well. This month. Yeah,
August. Yeah. He's just been exceptional. So for me, he's been brilliant. Saliba's been unbelievable. He's shown what we missed last year, and ironically enough, I'm interested to see your point of view on this, Salim, as well. Because when I look at last year, and I know Saliba got injured towards the end of the season, but for me, Gabriel was actually probably our most consistent centre-back last year. I felt like he was more consistent than Saliba.
Absolutely. He played every single game. I think after Saka, he played every single game.
Yeah.
And the thing, I don't get why people are still criticizing Gabriel. I mean, he's, as you said, he was our most consistent player.
He when Saliba is injured, he's still like, he was there the whole time. I think after the World Cup, Saliba after the World Cup struggled for a little bit. His form dipped. Gabriel went completely the other way, and that partnership they formed was just so crucial. But I feel like Saliba after the back injury could have been really like a little bit precarious coming back into the fold. But he looks fresh. He looks fit. He looks quicker than he did last year. He's had an exceptional start as well. So Saliba, Rice, right in the core, right in that middle of that team. I feel like they've started the season excellently.
James, I'm gonna move on to the refereeing in the Premier League. That's a hot topic.
It always is.
Yeah. Do you think, or do you feel like the refereeing in Premier League has improved, especially with the VAR, or do you think, because what I feel, again, as a fan, as an Arsenal fan, or a fan who likes Premier League and football, I always say, I say the best league in the world with the worst refereeing in the world. I know I might be too harsh here, but it's unbelievable. I mean, so many mistakes, and then 1 week you got the PGM, what is it called? The POM, apologizing for the mistake from last week, and then apologizing for another mistake. I mean, it's kind of, sometimes I think that's not serious, because this is the best league in the world. They should invest absolutely everything, money-wise, people, they should invest in it, because it makes a huge difference into the game. So what's your take on the refereeing?
Yeah, look, as a fan, I get frustrated at times. First of all, it's an incredibly difficult job, no doubt about it. It's so tough. Like, even like you're showing that the offside, like, it's so tight. Yeah. It's so tight. Like, it's just, we need technology. Without technology, we wouldn't have known. Like, there's no way back in the day before VAR that goal would have stood.
Yeah.
There's no way there's no way
By the way, Manchester United fans are still crying about it.
I know, yeah, it's a bit embarrassing. That was 10 Hag was really poor after that game, actually. I felt he just used too many excuses. But look, I think the problem with how VAR's been used is still there. There's a big problem with how it's been used, how it's changed the perception from referees that they're not necessarily going to make decisions anymore. They're going to leave things for VAR. VAR scared to override the decision of the on-field referee, who's actually trying to let the other person make a decision. So almost they're leaving stuff to each other. And that's happening too much. We see that quite a bit. That's frustrating. There's no excuse for poor use of VAR, in my opinion. Look, I don't mind a bit of time taken out of the game if necessary. If it's a decision that requires that, no problem, take some time out. I feel like they may be rushing. They're so desperate to get the game back on and keep the flow of the game that they'd rather rush a decision, not necessarily get it right, but just to get the game back on so people don't moan at the game stop. Well, actually, no, we want the right decisions being made. We just don't want to see mistakes by VAR. And it's not the technology, it's the use of the technology that is the issue.
Exactly.
It's the person sat in that seat either feeling too much pressure and not running with it properly. So look, yeah, there's some frustrations. There's some things in the United game I was really frustrated about. I remember Anthony kicked the ball away about 15 minutes into the game. We've been told that's an automatic yellow card, yet he doesn't give a yellow card. So it's like, where it's the inconsistency that I think, again, as fans, we really struggle with, and rightly so. It's frustrating when we're hearing one thing, but then what we're seeing is completely the other. It doesn't make any sense. And look, I'm not sitting here wanting constant players to be booked. Far from it, because I quite like when players aren't booked and then challenges go in. It's a bit more heated. It's proper football, and I love that. But if you're setting a precedent about time wasting, which again I'm a big advocate of, you've got to just what's the excuse for not doing it? So look, the inconsistencies are painful. The bad decisions are painful. I mean, I looked last season, Brentford at home, the offside goal that was given.
United at Old Trafford.
Martinelli goal. So it's frustrating. We had some bad decisions go against us. I know they say it evens it out, but that's fine, but still not good enough. We've got to be seeing more of these decisions right. Yeah, the improvements need to be made. I think they're trying. I just think it's going to take a bit of time. Don't ask me why it's taken so long to get it right, but more investment, more training.
But for example, why we don't see this kind of issues or problems in other leagues, like the French league or
I think there is
the Spanish league? Maybe sometimes I think because it's not the Premier League is more exposed than the other leagues. Maybe
there's more eyes on the Premier League.
Focus.
More intensity. It's quicker. It's faster. Mistakes will happen more in a game like that, but we don't hear about it in La Liga or Liga as much because less eyes are watching it. So that is a big thing, and big decisions will be drummed down, and you'll see it posted by every media outlet in the country. So look, that's just the nature of it. Do I want to see it? Do I want to see them do better? Absolutely. I really do. There's improvements that need to be made. But we also need to, there's a couple of things, a couple of points. One, we need to praise referees when they do a good job. In my opinion, I feel like we need to be, these accounts, all these media accounts need to praise referees when they do a good job.
Yeah.
If they have a really good game, we should absolutely put them on a pedestal. So well done. That's great. Had a really good game, like we would do any other player who plays well. I think that's important. But my second point is about what frustrates me about the officiating is still why, when you're in the stadium, you have no clue what's going on with VAR. And that really frustrates me. You don't see the images, you don't understand. The players don't know, the managers don't know, the fans don't know. It's that really makes me angry, makes my blood boil, and that is so unacceptable. And why we can't listen to a conversation like we see in rugby, and we've seen it at the Rugby World Cup, and it's been done brilliantly. Yeah. Why can't we see that in football? It's just I don't believe there's any excuse for it now. It needs to be.
But I think it's gonna, James. I think it's gonna happen at one point because they started already. There is like every week. I love it. It's called the referee mic'd up. Mm-hmm. It's like on the Premier League website where you can hear, and listen what happened during a game. I've been watching the one from Anthony Tyler from the United game when he had to, the disallowed goal. No, there was a penalty. And it was brilliant. It's something new, So you understand more. You understand the game, the VAR, how it works, and
But we need to know. We need to know that at the time, and it's great that they release it afterwards when they check everything to make sure it doesn't put them in a bad light. We know this, and I've said this to them. I've got a good relationship with the guys there, and I've said that to them, and they haven't really got anything to say back. But look, it's these things are brilliant, but why can't we hear it in real time? Why can't we as fans understand the decision being made in real time? Why can't the players understand it too? Because look, that Havertz thing, it's hard, isn't it? Because we all have our fan hat on, right? We do. Like, I try and say I'm really like grounded, but I know that there's always a bias thing inside me. I personally thought the Havertz thing, I didn't think there was enough in the footage to say that the referee had made a wrong decision. That was my opinion. I thought there was still contact. So I don't believe in the rules that was enough to overturn the decision. That was my feeling. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't soft, but I still believe there was contact from two defenders, not just one. And I don't think that was enough to overturn it. But what do I know about the rules?
Hopefully things will get better.
I hope so.
We go to the Everton game on Sunday. It's gonna be a tough game. Goodison Park, bad memories from last season. I always say to my friends and my mates, I say, guys, we lost the league last year when we lost at Goodison Park. I still believe. I don't know why, but it's just that game. We should have won it, and we were so poor that game. So we go. So we're going back. We're going back to Goodison Park with Mr. Shandijk to face Mr. Shandijk. So what's your prediction for that one?
Do you know what? I feel like whenever a challenge has come up for Mikel Arteta to right or wrong, he's done it almost every time.
That's true.
And I feel like, remember Crystal Palace playing at Selhurst Park, and then we start the season off on a Friday and we beat them. I feel like this will be a different game. I think it's difficult. Goodison Park it's like a bogey team, isn't it? Our recent record there is absolutely horrendous, but there's something different about this Arsenal team. Something very different, and there's too much quality in that side. Everton have had a really average or very poor start to the season. I'm not worried. I think we'll dictate the game. I don't think we'll let them bully us like they did last year, because they bullied us last year, especially those midfield three. Yeah. And I don't see that being the case this time, because we'll overrun them in midfield, because Arteta will set them up to get as many bodies in that middle of the park. So we overrun those three who absolutely destroyed us last year. So I'm going to send some positivity out there for everybody. I think it will be a bit more comfortable than we used to seeing at Goodison Park.
We hope so. One last thing that was on the news today. Vinay is stepping down as executive. What is it called? I forgot.
CEO, isn't he?
Yeah, CEO, exactly. Do you think that will have any influence on the current process, or do you think it's just time to move on and get someone who's better? I don't know the man's competences, but
he's look, I've worked with him in a previous job a little bit, actually. Lovely guy, really nice guy, very likable. He's been a really important part of this process that Arsenal have been under. He's made everything flow better through the club so that decisions are made more properly. I think he's helped set us up into the position we're at right now. And I think maybe it could be a right time for both parties, actually, for Arsenal to look at bringing someone in who could then make that next jump and take that next step up for us. I think he's done a wonderful job. I know he said that he just wants a bit of a new challenge now, which is great. I think he's been really important for us, actually, during at times very, very difficult period for the club. But he's been one that's been there throughout. And look, I think he will be missed. But if they replace him right, which they've got all season to do, he's not leaving till the end of the season, so we've got plenty of time. They bring the right person in, which I don't know about you, but I trust the club now. I feel like the club at the moment is in safe hands. The right decisions are being made off the field, and I trust them to do that again and bring in the right person who will fit seamlessly in with Edu, Mikael, and the board. And I think that flow that we have through the club is hopefully going to continue because he's been a big part of that.
Yeah. One last topic we're going to talk about, James, before letting you go. The Saudi League.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on? Do you think... I see it personally as a threat, because when you see clubs targeting big stars, like recently Mo Salah, well, he didn't go there, but I assume it's going to happen at one point. And, you know, it's reality. It's a fact now. They are here. Do you think it's a real threat for the Premier League?
I think it's a challenge for the Premier League. I think a threat is probably a bit early to say that at the moment. I think it's an extra challenge that Premier League clubs need to accept and understand. And I think they're all figuring that out this summer. Again, speaking to a lot of managers, they're all as coaches, as clubs, embracing the Saudi Pro League. They're having to adapt a lot of their plans. To the fact there is this competition now, it does change a few things. They've got to...
Sorry, I used the word threat because I'm going to give you a small example, because we've heard that Gabriel Magalhaes was linked to a Saudi club. And, you know, at one point you think, wow, okay, you know, you start, you know, I was scared because I was thinking this is happening. Yes, we might think, clubs might say, no, we're not going to sell this player. But if the offer is too lucrative for the club, they will sell the player.
Absolutely.
So it is, you know, because we've seen the numbers, they are crazy numbers.
Yeah,
and
for
it's
sure.
It's really difficult for clubs to turn it down.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So then it's almost like the Saudi Pro League actually can become an opportunity for Premier League clubs. And we could see spending go even higher than we saw this summer, because if Saudi are going to spend silly money on players, then clubs are going to have more money to spend in the Premier League. So actually, then they bring in even more talent and better talent. So do you know what? Look, it could work the other way. I don't think it's going anywhere. I don't believe it's like, you know, the Chinese Super League that tried and threatened for a little bit but did nothing in the end. Yeah. I believe, you know, I know Saudi are trying desperately to bring in tourism, change the persona of their country. They're doing it via sports, and with boxing, UFC, wrestling been over there, Formula One,
Grand Prix, Formula One.
Yeah. Absolutely. So now they're doing it with football, and they're bringing it. I mean, look, you know, they're putting some unbelievable players. Neymar's playing over there. Cristiano Ronaldo's playing over there. You know, these are huge players. Yeah. And when they're signing players at mid-20s, that's a concern. That's a challenge that Premier League clubs are going to go, oh, hold on a minute. But look, I think there's a long way to go. There is a long way to go. And that will just... I don't believe, as much money as they've got over there, they can't keep doing this every single season. It's impossible. It's not sustainable. And I think it was like the CEO of the Saudi Pro League was doing the media rounds not too long ago, and he was talking about, look, we are going to look at different methods. This is not something we're going to be doing every single summer. So they will look at, you know, they want to start developing their own talent. You know, that's fantastic, and that's great for the game, and that's what they should do. And they're getting the talent now. They're bringing the interest in. I don't believe it's too much of a threat right now. Look,
I mean, we've seen that with the Qatari league at one point. It was like 10 years ago when they brought Xavi and the other players, but it didn't really work.
These are a majority of players that come to the end of their career, right?
Yeah.
You know, back in the past, years and years ago, the MLS was a retirement home. That was where players went to spend the last couple of years of their career, earn a little bit more money, get some cash in, play at a nice level, and that was it. It's still, I feel like Saudi Pro League still got a bit of that, really, with players playing at the end of their career. But look,
it's something to do with also, you know, I think it's something to do with the culture. I mean, when it's a culture, for footballistic culture, you know, football culture, it's not the same, you know.
No.
The Premier League will stay the Premier League. It's something special, you know, and you know, you can't change it.
The Premier League's been an entity now for over 30 years, and it's established itself as the biggest league in the world. To me, the football is better in the Premier League than anywhere else. I know we can think we're biased because we watch it all the time, but I feel looking at other leagues, it's a fact. I think I
don't watch other leagues. I'm not gonna lie. I don't watch other leagues. I sometimes watch a little bit French league, maybe. sometimes Bundesliga when there is a big game like Dortmund, Bayern. But other than that, I don't watch. I don't watch other leagues. But James, one last. We already done 50 minutes. Wow.
That means
time flies.
Well, clearly I talk too much. So
it's been a pleasure, absolutely pleasure. One last word, James, for the Algerian Gooners, all the Arsenal supporters in Algeria, and obviously the Algerian supporters in general.
Do you know what? I love Algerian fans. Now, I was over in Cape Town for the England-Algeria game in 2010 World Cup.
2010, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember going into Cape Town and England had taken over the city. There were England fans absolutely everywhere, and I was just like, this is brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. But then there were these very small pockets of Algerian fans, and they made so much noise. They sung, they danced, they were so friendly. They were absolutely brilliant. And I remember in the stadium, it was literally all England, apart from, again, a really small pocket of Algerian fans. But you could just hear the Algerian fans the whole time. So bear in mind, there's about 59,000 England fans, about 1,000 or 2 Algerian fans, and all you can hear is the Algerian fans. They were phenomenal. The passion that Algerians have for football is just unbelievable, and I love to see it. I love what you're doing. It's great to see the impact that Arsenal has on the global stage. It's great that the club are recognising the work you're doing as well by giving you opportunities to meet a player, and I think that's fantastic. And to see the club do more of that just shows kind of what Arsenal is all about. Arsenal's a proper club. It's a family club. It's a proper club, and they do look after their supporters, and their supporting groups around the world. Those who tune in at different hours, different times. Maybe it's not as easy to watch abroad at times. It's the dedication that fans show of Arsenal abroad is still phenomenal. So, as an Arsenal fan from England, I am grateful for the support you give. My message to all of you is just be patient. We've got Declan Rice. We've got Mikel Arteta. We're unbeaten. Patience for Kai Havertz. It will come. Champions League's back this week, which is going to be incredible. And then the North London derby when we can give Spurs a proper whooping. So it's all to come. It's going to be a good week for Arsenal fans.
And I will be there for the North London derby. Inshallah. Yes. Thank you, James. It's been brilliant. Top man. And thank you, James. الناس اللي ما يعرفوش جيمس هو صحفي قناة سكاي سبورت ومبعوث خاص مختص بالأرسنال. روحوا تبعوه جيمس جرين @UK في تويتر. Give him a follow on Twitter. James Green, top man. Thank you for accepting the invitation, James. It's been absolutely brilliant. I'm so happy. We have to do it again, James. Definitely, we have to.
Just bug me, and I'm back. I love it.
And hopefully, I'll see you in person soon in London. We'll meet up. Yeah. Thank you for all of you that have been watching us. شكرا للجميع اللي كان يتبع فينا. قبل ما نفترقوا ما تنساوش الاشتراك على القناه اللي مازال ما اشتركش، يدير لنا السبسكرايب. راهو عندكم الكيو ار كود، ديروا لنا الاشتراك راهو هنا لتحت، ديروا لنا السبسكرايب وبارطاجيو على اوسع نطاق. James, thank you ever so much for once again for accepting the invitation, and hopefully speak to you soon. Yeah,
fantastic. Thank you.
Take care, James.